true business value and, of course, position India as a global manufacturing hub. Joining us to share their insights and experiences on the topic are Dr. Pramod Chaudhary, Chairman of Praj Industries, and along with him, we have a galaxy of speakers, which includes Anirudh Mehta, CIO, Prince Pipes and Fitting, Sriram Ardhanari, General Manager IT at Cosmo First, Shubrata Roy, Senior GM and Head of Information Technology at Skipper Limited, and Deepak Singh, Head of Mid Enterprises in the corporate segment for the India and SAARC region at Google Cloud. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this conversation. Let's straddle between the developments now and the possibilities in the future and start first by understanding what works. So, Dr. Chaudhary, I'll come to you first. What should be the guiding principles is what I want to understand of connecting those manufacturing, different parts of the manufacturing enterprise to enhance collaboration between the management and the factory floor. And of course, migrating to the cloud to optimize performance and costs while saving factory per place. And in this question that we discussed, I also want to understand from you, how does ESG fit into this equation?
Well, ESG is talking about at a little bit of the umbrella level, and whereas the first part of your question is to do with the nitty-gritties of the manufacturing process, how it is connected with various stations. So, for example, if you talk about transfer lines, they were once upon a time a part of a connected manufacturing process, where one station goes to the second to third, or what we call as CNC. So that is the old system which was there already as a connected thing. And now the ESG has brought in a lot of new approaches to the entire manufacturing gamut, because there are many things have been now being captured or being measured. For example, E is for this environment is definitely very, very critical, and people are counting or calculating carbon footprints. That is one of the aspects of it, or water consumption, what's happening. These are some of the samples of E. In the area of S, we are talking about the social impact of many things, which is to do with the workers or gender diversity. So many things are there, and that is a part of the S. And the governance is what are the norms we have to follow in terms of wages, or for that matter, any areas where the governance practices can be measured or kept track of. So, for example, even the effluent generation is one of the very important parameters which is being kept track of. So all these things are now getting connected, and that's how the whole ESG principles are getting applied to a typical manufacturing process, whether be it the chemical process or be it the mechanical manufacturing. So these are the few things which come to my mind based on the current situation in terms of interconnected or connected manufacturing.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to see how the next frontier of manufacturing is enabling companies in this space to not just look at improving their business processes, but also their environment and societal and governance equations, and makes for a more robust ecosystem play, keeping up with the broad strokes and technology playing its part, the cloud playing its part as an enabler. Let me bring in Deepak into the equation. Deepak, as the world kind of looks to diversify its supply chains, digital manufacturing is seen as the key to making India the world's factory. And considering a lot of pent-up consumer demand is rushing back, how can a smart manufacturing ecosystem of a connected factory, smart products, connected consumer, and digital workplace enable India to capitalize on this growth opportunity?
Around the topic of the connected manufacturing, there are three things which is happening and where Google is contributing. Of course, the first and the key important part is sustainability. All of us are talking about a carbon neutrality, and Google as a company is contributing in terms of making sure that it is sustainable for all the large manufacturing and the mid-sized manufacturing as well. Second is on the collaboration. We are not just talking about connecting the tech part of it, but also the connecting the resources as well. So through our future of work solutions, we have seen that decision making is not just happening within the conference room, but also with the floor and different factories where employees are able to contribute all those ideas around business priorities and growth. It is not just limited to the conference room. The third, if you look at all the manufacturing, they have a lot of data historically over last 10, 20, 30 years or so. And most data are now getting structured in terms of taking a business decision. Now, whether we are talk about employee safety or the workers' safety, or in terms of prioritizing supply chain and predictive maintenance and analytics, those kind of solutions. I think we are seeing it on both the forums. One is on the technology, and second in terms of the decision making, just not limited to the conference room, but it is also getting spread by each and every member of the organizations.
Absolutely. And the use cases, the proof of concepts just keep on building. And let's understand the applications, the use of technology in improving everything from maintenance to plant safety to the other use cases that are coming up. Anirudh, let me bring you into the equation here. I want to understand from you, how can this ecosystem of connected devices, products, and solutions help enterprises in the Indian manufacturing sector drive revenue growth, operational excellence, and innovation across their entire value chain? Take us through your enterprise use case and the benefits unlocked, and also your views on how you see the role maybe Google Cloud can play as a connective tissue between operational tech and IT.
I think my first point over here, what I would like to make is specifically, the way technology is coming into business is now changing from where we do business to how we do business. A lot of discussions or a lot of, thought process went into Industry 4.0, where we had connected machines, we had IoT, we had a lot of those discussions in manufacturing, capturing real-time data. But that was probably, it was where we do business. Initially, probably this data was connected or collected as a part of normal sheets or normal documents or forms with a handwritten person. Today we collect it over a system with IoT and all that stuff. But the difference that technology is bringing in today over here specifically is in terms of giving me that real-time reds or greens with that data which is coming in. As simple as, when I'm manufacturing a pipe, and, a pipe manufacturing is a continuous manufacturing process, if you go to see. In that scenario, if the temperature or the pressure changes, my thickness of the pipe might change, and that might impact my final product. Now, if I get this data real time saying that this particular batch or this particular part of your continuous process had some changes in temperature or moisture or humidity or etc. In that scenario, the decision can be real-time by the person who's working on the manufacturing line, rather than waiting for the production manager or somebody to come into play and decide how are we going to work around it or solve this problem. We are, I have a background of pharmaceutical industry, and in pharma there is a very strong concept of kappa, which is very strongly followed and very strongly adhered to. Coming on to manufacturing today, I think with technology and the kind of platforms and the accessibility to technology which is available to the industry, we are moving on to PAKA more than kappa. It's more of preventing first and then going on to a corrective action if needed. So that's the way it is going on. Again, in terms of our core industry, where we are looking at certain specific areas. If you go to see transportation of pipes, it's more about transporting air. And I've said that a lot of times, if you see a pipe play out in a truck, you will see we are transporting air. Their likes of Google have coming with, their AI platforms or their real-time analytics platform, which do image analytics and get us solutions where, how many more SKUs can you fit in the same truck? Or how much more layering can you do, or how much more loading can you do for a particular truck without disturbing the lowermost row. So that's what technology is bringing to us. And, that's why I said, I started off saying from where we do business, it's changing how we do business.
That's a very important point indeed. It's focusing, it's technology enabling you to focus on business outcomes. And one use case that you cited there, of course, how can you fit more SKUs? That's just one application. It's also, technology is also helping you expand to newer verticals and connect parts in the value chain and expand yourself there and offer more products and services to customers. That's the viewpoint coming in from Prince Wise. Sriram, let me get you in. Lots of things have happened with regards to Cosmo First as well, and the company has been a sort of a technology leader in its space when it comes to using technology for these variety of applications, whether it's CRM or cloud architecture. So, what are the new things which have happened right now?
Cosmo First, when it comes to shop floor automation, has done a lot of things in the past 1 year, and I've also lined up a lot more transformative projects for this year. So like you said, we have been probably the first to sort of look at cloud adoption. We are already a cloud first company, and we had moved to Salesforce and we had moved to S/4HANA on the cloud long before everyone else in the industry had sort of got onto it, right? But what we are doing now is to sort of completely look at transforming our shop floor as well. So some interesting use cases that we came up with, for example, the sales and operation process for the films industry is quite different to other industries, I would say, because of the kind of products that we do. There are commodity products as well as specialty products that we have. So there's a lot of market link products that are present. And like other panelists had mentioned, we have last 10 years, 12 years of data that is available with us in terms of what kind of actual dispatches and actual sales have happened. So we had really looked at disrupting without looking at large scale transformation in the shop floor equipment and digital processes. Rather, we looked at all that data and came out with a predictive algorithm to forecast the actual sales that can happen at the overall segment level as well as at the individual SKU level. And we could see immediate results. The manual process in which the forecasting happened versus how we were able to forecast through the AI engine. The AI engine was giving better results from the get-go. And obviously with ML algorithms, we could see that improving over time as well. And these kind of specific use cases which gives immediate value was the way in which we proceeded with the other initiatives as well. So for example, the second thing that we're working on is on predictive maintenance. And the current challenge with many players in this kind of industry is that you have a mix of old equipment on the shop floor as well as new equipment, right? The new equipment would typically have your SCADA systems in place. The real-time monitoring that another panelist was talking about is available at the control room already to make real-time decisions, but we are not really able to predict what can happen, right? So because over a period of time, there are X amounts of line shutdowns or wastage that happens. How can I reduce that? Because that would have massive impact, right, in terms of value that you.
So do you think Google Cloud can play a role in here in sort of bridging that gap?
Absolutely, and we've already reached out to Google and other players as well as to how we can take this data out. And the challenge here is typically with the older equipment, right? So for the newer equipment, you will have standards through which you can pull out the data and take it to Google Cloud or any other kind of platform and build your own ML models. And with older equipment, you might have to do some workarounds, but that's where actually the value also comes, because typically with older lines, you will have a lot more line shutdowns that are possible, or frequent maintenances that need to happen, etc., etc. So although we're able to implement the standard plant maintenance kind of module within the ERP system, the preventive and predictive part of it is what we're striving for, right? Similarly, there are a lot more possibilities here, because when you go to the customer level, then the amount of data points again increases, right? So you have a bunch of data that comes out of CRM, you have all your shop floor data, you have a lot of discrepancies that have happened in the past through which you can build learning models, etc., etc. So the possibilities are endless, right? And we're working towards that as we speak.
All right, let's expand the conversation around those technology gaps. And Shubhrata, let me bring you into the equation, considering you operate in a sector which has seen a spike in demand, and there are almost double-digit growth rates predicted in terms of demand coming in. So, from your perspective, where are the technology gaps currently which need to be resolved for India to capitalize on manufacturing growth opportunities, where a lot of pent-up consumer demand is rushing back in this sort of post-pandemic world?
See, technology, we have advanced in the technology front. There is no doubt on that. But there are still gaps. I think the digitization, the pandemic has taught us to be digitized. Okay, many conventional companies who never looked at digitization has started looking very aggressively at digitizations post the pandemic. But for the SME sector, I would like to highlight a few things which are, though very nascent in nature, but they are very critical in the India's growth path. What I find is that in remote locations, still what you call the digital divide, okay, that connectivity and the seamless connectivity is still a problem. Okay, and still we are facing that. Okay, another thing that comes into mind is that that bridge can well be bridged by the satellite technology. But in India, satellite technology, it has got a lot of bottlenecks. It is very costly. At the same time, it is also there are a lot of red tapes. There are a lot of licensings required to extend that. So I'll give you a live example. Okay, say if you are tracking a truck, okay, because today in a world where supply chain is most important, you need to only know the because just in time is now not only for automobile industries. Everybody is talking about just in time. So if a truck is moving and you are doing a geo tracking, okay, to know the position of the truck, okay, and even if you want to know the condition of the fragile materials that are moving along the truck in a supply chain environment. With the mobile connectivity, the problem is that there are areas where there are no connectivities available. So if we can move into this, we can use this satellite technology that can give us a real-time picture and can help improve on that front. The mindset of the organizations is that IT is the CIOs are not part of the board or not part of the business decision-making process. That needs to change very fast. Either you digitize, you flourish, or you perish. Okay, I have worked. Now we are talking about digitization in today's world. I have seen organizations, though I don't want to take any names. If I'm allowed, I can take. I have worked with that organization for 10 years. In 2008, we did a transporter portal. We tried to have a SCM system in place because that was a bit both from the inward side and the dispatch side. So people who have turned to digitization earlier are in a different league today. But for the SMEs and the other industries who have not digitized, if the mindsets don't change, they still think that IT is an expense and not an investment. They will perish in no times. That is what this thing is. And from the technology front, another thing that comes into mind is that for digitization, people who are trying to digitize, there should be some government incentives to the industries which are digitizing. Another thing that comes into mind is that the cost of cloud computing is going up. Okay, there are a lot of geopolitical reasons for that as well, but that is hitting the SME sectors hard. Okay, so the SaaS platforms are also getting costlier, the cloud computing is getting costlier, so those things needs to be addressed. And some kind of an incentive. See, like the organizations, they get, for CSR activities, they get some benefits. For digitization, I think the government should push the manufacturing industry to get into that position. Okay, so that we can address those challenges properly. Because they get an incentive in digitizing, because that is the way India will become Atmanirbhar. Making India will happen only through digitization.
Absolutely. Digitization, the key to either flourishing or, if you don't use it, perishing. Let me bring in Dr. Chaudhary since we have him for a limited amount of time. I'll front load two questions to you, Dr. Chaudhary. What makes data a unique asset for manufacturers, and how should they incorporate a sort of a data-driven approach into their daily decision-making activities in a meaningful and productive way? And expanding on what we discussed earlier about sustainability, how can data kind of help the entire manufacturing ecosystem decarbonize?
So I think the answer is in your own comment, that we collect the data which is relevant to from the point of view of energy consumption or from the point of view of carbon footprints, and that becomes very important as an example of what the carbon generation is taking place. And the net zero, this MRV, that measurement, review and validation, this is the crux of the matter in terms of this kind of a data of carbon footprints. The other aspect of data, or the way of working using digitalization in the industry, in process industry especially, is remote monitoring for troubleshooting, for measurement of the performance of a process, because this obviously is a process-driven industry, and in the process it becomes very, very critical how we are doing. The only area where we are still struggling to find out solution is where the microorganisms are coming in the picture. Their behavior prediction and there the data is still not up to date. The 2 plus 2 did not become 4, sometimes it can become 5 or even 22. But the rest of the processes and all that, purely chemical process and all that, simulation methods are there, or for that matter, even synthetic biology is now taking some shape. Synthetic biology will change the dynamics, the equation completely. You can design a microorganism to behave in a certain manner in a given environment. So these are some of the things which are, it's full of synthetic biology, nothing but the bioinformatics, which is the full data-driven behavior of a microorganism, and which can help you for your manufacturing. The other routine areas are preventive maintenance, and those things are becoming a way of life. And that's when the cycle will become due for overhauling, or when you want to go for CIP cleaning in process. So those things are becoming very well established parameter, especially in the chemical or process industry. So I think that's the way we are looking at it. There's some mileage we have to catch up, especially in the behavior of live organisms. I think that's where also issues will be sorted in the near future. So these are the way we are looking at it.
Right, Dr. Chaudhary, and considering your vast experience and expertise, I want to know from you what's on the horizon. We are talking Industry 4.0, but looking at Industry 5.0, especially from that lens of sustainable development of the sector. What's on the horizon?
We are really looking at Industry 5.0, where the cooperation between robots and bioprocesses, bioeconomy will take place, and they will coexist. Otherwise, in isolation, they cannot really do the full job. And it's going to become more and more important. We are pushing this agenda, with the authorities, even in COP27 also, we are trying to put this as a concept, next height of sustainability, which will be there in the area of managing the various manufacturing process, or these areas of doing good business practices. So this bioeconomy will play a very important role. Version 5.0, version 2 is going to be the important next game on the horizon. That's the way we are looking at it.
Anirudh, let me bring you in. I want to understand from you, what are the best practices for assessing supply chain readiness to internal shocks in the market, and of course, external shocks that also come in the economy, so that manufacturing organizations can withstand disruptions more effectively, and they reduce the risk of, say, financial loss, and preserve the company's image in front of both suppliers and customers?
So I think, COVID has taught us a lot in terms of how do we manage our supply chain, or in terms of raw materials as well as in terms of our finished goods. One of the most important things is, what we learned not just the supply chain bit, but everything else, when I consider all together, is bring people together and enable them to communicate, collaborate, and share, when they cannot meet in person. And this has brought us one change in terms of thinking where, every customer who expected us to be there in person or to sell in person is more than happy to communicate over a call or get things done for us over a call or on a technology-enabled platform. Plus, in terms of raw material, we had a lot of past data. Because if you go to see PVC, CPVC is a very raw material dependent manufacturing business, or we're a pure traditional manufacturing business, I would rather say. And the raw material is supply is as versus the manufacturing capacity what India has as a business is pretty low. So in that scenario, what helped us, or what where we gained, is we had a lot of data on our previous raw material requirements and raw material needs. So based on that, there was a good stocking done, a good pricing done, and we could manage a right mix of the amount of raw materials we need to cater for the next 1 year or a 2-year horizon, which we were looking at. Looking at that, one more thing what we also brought in is make every employee kind of a data scientist. Make sure you enable them with smarter and real-time data to bring out the best of decisions which they can do at their level. Because instead of pushing up every decision and moving on every decision, if there are certain data points which are readily available, plus there is a clear gamut of logic behind those data points, the decision making turns out to be easier. Because when you go to see and when you find out these 80% of these decisions are standard decision based on FAQs. So that is something which turns out much more easier for our kind of industry, which is more of a traditional manufacturing industry.
Deepak, let me bring you into the conversation at this point to first get your responses and also address this question on the ROI side of things, because companies of all sizes, they also tend to focus on ROI. And the formula for successful ROI is different for different sized enterprises. And there is also the problem of linking investments in Industry 4.0 technologies to future profitabilities, because many companies, they struggle with the upfront cost, but I guess, the cost of not adopting may be higher or even fatal, as Subrata mentioned, either perish or flourish if you don't digitize. So I want to understand from you, Deepak, how can the cloud help manufacturing companies develop incremental plans that focus on a critical area, such as, say, downtime, with plans to scale the system as results pay for themselves through increased production?
The data is like, when you cook a dish with the same vegetables, same ingredients, you can cook multiple dish based on whether you bake, you defreeze or deep fry it. Same is with the data. It is all dependent on the modules and algorithms. Within Google ecosystem, we have been doing and playing with the data for since the beginning. So the accuracy which Google Cloud can offer is far ahead than maybe other options you have. So you're gonna get a better visibility of the data, right? I'll mention some of the use cases, Gautam, because you talked about ROI as well. So, for example, we have been working with some of the manufacturing in terms of doing analytics around their, a furnace, right? In terms of making or controlling the temperature of the furnace, because that talks about the power losses what they have. We have also been working with some of the customers where they said that rather than acting after a downtime, can you predict a downtime? And the use cases was like within a plant, they had multiple machines, and based on the temperature and the vibration of the machines, can you predict a downtime, right? And that is what we did with one of our customers. I would say third, and I heard about somebody talking about the trucks and tracking the geolocation as well. We had a project where one customer was also wanting to keep a view of the driving behavior of the driver. For example, how many times he is applying the brake or his acceleration. Based on that, he has not able to just minimize the impact of the deliveries, but also he has negotiated the pricing of the insurance as well, right? Because there was the study came out saying that there are certain drivers who have high chances of getting into accident because of the way they've been driving. So I'm saying that it is not just the cost, but also of predicting the failure, and that is where the whole business case gets much more stronger. My last point is that I think within the manufacturing as well, we are not in a stage where we can predict and talk about a 5-year or a 7-year or 10 years roadmap for a business. So all the data points, whether it is coming from the internal stakeholders or the external stakeholders, or the way the whole landscape is building on, I mean, based on that, if we can create a near-term and the long-term plan, which we have been doing with our customer, we are helping them create a current state to desired blueprint. We also work in a model where we think about that if we have to do a joint PR, maybe after 1 year, 2 year, what should the PR looks like, and how we can work backward just to make sure that you are being successful as a business. So these are some of the patterns, the way we've been working on them. Yeah.
All right, Anirudh, let me get you in to respond to that, considering the context has also changed. The Indian manufacturing sector, it still has some apprehensions about the benefits of embarking on an end-to-end digital journey, considering the investments needed of time and money. So I want to understand from you your response. How can companies incrementally transform their tech stack so they have the option of focusing on a critical area, as I mentioned, of a downtime, with plans to scale the systems as the results pay for themselves?
See, one is in terms of technology coming in, and we are not an IT company. And we need to realize that, and we need to imbibe this, that we are not a technology company, and investing in-house into technology and that kind of knowledge in-house is more of an headache rather than, concentrating on the core. So with technology, this is one of the advantage which we are getting. But what you rightly said is investment in technology. I just give you one example. In case some technology cost me $1 million or $1 million Indian rupees. In that scenario, there would be a clear ROI question which would come up to say whether that technology is worth investing, or probably I invest in a machine which will give me more production output. Because what happens is today when you go up to pick up a pipe in a shop, your prerogative to buy the pipe is purely saying I need a particular diameter or a particular function pipe. You will not go and say which company or which organization are you going to, or which brand pipe do you want. And what matters at that point of time is the availability. So for business and for likes of a traditional manufacturing company, what is more important is getting into that area which is going to impact business immediately, and then align technology with the business strategy. So like what you said, one very important thing which I also would bring in is unlearning, or probably get into the gamut which says, which are it's not just investment into technology, but it is also disinvestment in technology which needs to be done, and for our kind of businesses.
All right, Subrata, let me get you in for your thoughts on what Anirudh has mentioned, and also add in the point of kind of advanced analytics helping you unearth unseen opportunities in the businesses that you are doing, because using data manufacturing enterprises can dig deeper into their prospects for improvement. So maybe you could share with us how that's helped you unlock more value from your business as well.
Yeah, Gautam, I'll take the question in two parts. The first part is about the investment on IT. The thing is that it is like purchasing a mobile phone from a market. Okay, when you go to the market to buy a mobile phone, you will see Gen X or Gen Z, they change their mobile phones frequently, but we don't. First, we need to understand what we expect, what is my outcome, or what is, if I'm investing X amount of money, what is the ROI I'm expecting out of it? That should be clearly defined while taking any decision or investing in any technology by the board or the senior management within the organization along with the CIO, so that those can be measurable and it doesn't look that we have spent or squandered the money. That is one point which I would like to highlight. That is why I was saying that the CIOs must be part of the board or part of the business decisions in today's changing world. Okay. And another question which you very pertinently asked is about the advanced analytics and all. I'll just highlight one small case here. I have got advanced analytics. If we do, we are also into a PVC pipe industry. Okay, and we are also doing into the tower business. So in both the business, we found, especially in the tower, we found that there are a lot of returns that are happening. Okay, and that is, and most of tower being always sent in a dismantled state. Each angle, each fastener has to be proper, otherwise it is very difficult to install it when it reaches the site. So in an export kind of a scenario, that was costing huge amount of losses to the company. Okay, so what we did is that we got into a barcode kind of a solution, so that while dispatching, okay, according to the packing list, we can scan each part, match it, and then send it. Okay, and when they receive the material, they do the same, use the same barcoding to scan it, and we know that they have received the proper part. So it has improved helped us in reducing the return cost, and the customer relationship and the customer trust has also improved. And another area which I remember that we are also into a PVC business, there came a challenge. My management came up when we analyzed the data. In PVC, we found two pipes. We found two major problems. One is that sometimes wrong SKUs or similar looking SKUs are getting dispatched. First. Second is that, which is leading to two things. One is the mismatch between physical and book stocks, and second is that the distributor is returning the materials to us, and which is causing not only loss of sale but also bad reputation for us, and which is a loss also for us because they are returning the material because of that. So for that, what we did was that we did a study of how to get around that solution for that problem. So we came up with an RF kind of a solution, okay, and which helped us during the manufacturing, which is a continuous manufacturing process. We put the RF IDs into the pipes, okay, and at any point of time during dispatch, during say in the stores, in the warehouse area also, while we are we have inbuilt some RF gates, and once the material crosses the RF gate, it automatically counts what material is going. And while dispatching also, when the material is going out through the RF gate, it is showing to there is in a display counter, it is clearly showing what material is moving out, and the dispatch supervisor can clearly see whether it matches with his delivery sheet or not, and take corrective action immediately. So these are the two areas which we have improved in this organization, and it has really helped us in boosting, in reducing the losses that we have incurred.
Sriram, maybe we could get a few pointers from you as well on sort of data unlocking the value of the business for you and new avenues, and also a word on some sort of best practices. Say, how should small manufacturing companies in tier 2, tier 3 cities, how should they manage risk and optimize with limited budgets and legacy application footprints, since these are some of the challenges that we have been discussing here?
Sure. So I think Subrata covered it beautifully. Now, if you take the example that he quoted, the trap that companies might fall into is to look at manpower saving rather than the other aspect, which is to basically, let's say, completely eliminate returns or to ensure that the defective products don't go out at all. So that is the driver that you'll have to follow up on, rather than looking at, okay, there have been mistakes that have been done through manpower doing the manual checks. So if I invest in this technology, the manpower gets removed. What is the saving of that versus what I invest into the technology? That's simply the wrong comparison, right? So how do you sort of look at this question for small and medium enterprises, Gautam? I would say, start first with the top value impact areas, right? You as a business, and I'm sure that every function within such enterprises would have top 2 or 3 problem areas, or areas of opportunity that can be identified, right? So what is the internal customer need as well as the external customer need? And that is something that you will have to really spend time on. You will have to build something like a customer empathy map for you to understand what that is, to really go into solutioning. So the other trap that people get into is that, okay, I have a good technology, let's try and implement, let's find scenarios to implement, right? And that is again not going to be giving you the desired output. So you really have to think about it from the customer's point of view, identify the need there, identify the gaps and the value that can be saved or additionally generated as well, and work backwards from there. And all the other aspects about what technology to implement, how do I get the data out, there'll be multiple different challenges there as well with respect to older technology versus newer technology, etc. All of that will follow through, right? And this approach would also help you get the kind of board level connect, the business leadership connect that other panelists were talking about, right? So, and when you're able to do this for 2 or 3 use cases, and I'm not really talking about investing in large technology, right? You don't really have to completely change the architecture to get going on this, because the beauty of data is that even if you don't get it in a seamless manner, you don't have those MLOps pipelines built in, which all these new technologies offer, I'm still able to extract the data or look at the old data in a manual fashion and basically get few data scientists on board. You're only investing in a couple of additional people maybe, but who have Python skills and who can build ML models on their own, who have deep learning techniques as part of their skill sets, and they'll be able to build those models for you, which will really give the value as well. So you can really innovate without investing too much, at least in those first few use cases, because that would be really necessary to get that business connect as well, and the board level connect and the CEO connect. After that, everything else will follow through. Then you can start building that as part of the pipeline to identify scenarios of value, and then go on to large scale investments. So that would be my 2 cents on this.
All right, let's bring all the talking points together from an enablement perspective as we wrap up this conversation. So Deepak, while many manufacturers have already invested in digitization, as we've heard, tech like digital twins or iterative manufacturing, they show promise, but they are far from widespread adoption. So I want to understand from you, what can Google Cloud do to enable manufacturing companies in India to take advantage of these technologies?
So Gautam, well point, it's good to hear different use cases and a different stage of the digital adoption from the panel. Interestingly, we are investing very, very heavily on enablement, right? Because all these are the new tech. And like we said, if you look at the manufacturing, because of the personas and different application and the business stakeholders, not everybody is very well versed with all the new technologies. So we already have multiple learning path to take care of each and every persona within manufacturing organization. Second, what we heard from other panelists, that it is better to kind of identify business outcome first, right, and take an approval of the board and the leadership team, and then run a small pilot. And we have been doing that in most of with our customers. And when I look at the manufacturing, we also need to further break the manufacturing into multiple micro segments. We hear different stories and different use cases from the panelists. A pipe manufacturer will have a different priorities than a cement manufacturer to a jewelry manufacturer. So the way we have been working is that we're gonna talk with our customers, understand their business priorities, right? Second, we have been doing a lot of assessment in order to understand what is the current state versus desired state. Third, we help them create a learning path as well for their organization, not just for the IT, but for the business as well, because we also need to take care of the change management, which people will go through during these digital adoptions, right? And the last piece is that if you look at data, I mean, for manufacturing, it is not like a click screen where the data is there on the website or some web-based platform. We are trying to help customers to look at the data from different lenses, not just their within current system, within their vendor, within their distributor, within their supplier as well, or even their internal exchanges, communication. So the data is everywhere in terms of the videos, chats, the pictures, the text, and the other communications. So if I have to summarize, Gautam, one, the training enablement and the learning path is a key takeaway. The second, breaking all those business priorities into a smaller pilots, making sure that we set up the success criteria well in advance. And the third one is that work together in terms of creating a near-term and a long-term blueprint, and then work backward. So I think working backward is the one thing which we typically do with our customers. And they understand their business priorities. We are the tech companies. We just don't limit it to be a tech partner. We want to be a business partner. And that is how we have been working with most of our customers.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the best developments which have happened, where technology enablers are not just looking at it from an enablement perspective. They're looking at it as a partnership perspective with a lot of their customers. And of course, you work backward to move forward. On that note, it's time to conclude this conversation around manufacturing cloud, the next frontier. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing their insights on the topic as part of Moneycontrol Innovation Next, presented by Google Cloud. And of course, special thanks to our viewers for tuning in. Till next time, this is your host, Gautam Srinivasan, signing off. Have a great day.